That's not necessarily correct. Now, in my video that I posted 2 days ago or yesterday about Judges 19 being one of the worst stories, one of the most vile stories ever told in the Bible, which is actually also kind of like the sequel or the remake, the reboot of Genesis 19, which is the Sodom and Gomorrah story. This was one of the comments that I found interesting. Where a man said that if they weren't homosexuals, they supported homosexuals. That's why God said, crush them. This is one of those things that demonstrates to me that many Christians don't understand the cultural context to which their book is written. If you understood the cultural context to which your book was written, then you would understand that the Sodom and Gomorrah story, the Judges 19 story, is not an indication of homosexuality in the same sense that you look at homosexuality today, as if that was all that these men ever wanted. When the men desired to have sex with the angels in the Sodom and Gomorrah story in Genesis 19, and when they desired to have sex with the Israelite man who had came to town to visit in Judges 19, it is not a story that is actually talking about homosexuality. So the cultural context is this. And this is why I always tell people who follow my page that you have to read these books, no matter which version, no matter what book you're reading, with an understanding of the culture, as well as an understanding of the political system to which they had in place. So in many cultures of ancient time, there is the respect kind of thing that happens. Meaning that when a visitor comes to a town, and these towns were small, like a city is 300 people. A town could be like 20, 30, 50 people. So when you come to any city, any town, you are to pay homage to the leaders of that town. You didn't just come into the town, like you got walk around money and just go and do whatever you want to do. You come into the town, you go to the magistrate, the governor, the judge, the mayor, whoever is in charge of that town, or the group of people, the elders in most cases back in the day, and you pay homage to them. Hey, how you doing? This is my name. Hey, I brought you some gifts, sort of thing, almost mafia-like. And then you acknowledge their presence and acknowledge their leadership and their power. And then you go on into the town and you do whatever you do. You came there for business, you came there to visit, you came to do whatever, but you acknowledge them. This is something that has been in cultures for an exceedingly long time, and to a certain extent, still relative today in certain circles, that people, when you go to certain places, you have to pay homage to the OGs, so to speak. So in both stories, the reason why the men came and wanted to sodomize the man and the two angels is because of that cultural context. They didn't pay homage to the leaders of the town, and so it was looked upon as a disrespectful thing. And the most disrespectful thing you could do to another man who is not gay is to sexually violate him. In the Roman culture, this was one of those things that they would do if a leader was having a problem with an equal leader or a leader that was beneath them. They would sodomize that leader, that other person, to force them into submission. In the American culture, during the slave trade, if there was, the slave master would sodomize the strongest slave male in order to make him submit and show the people, the populace, that he's in charge and I'm so big and bad that I can do this to the strongest of you. So that type of activity is separate from what we would today call homosexuality, and even what they would have called homosexuality back then. Homosexuality is when two people are willingly wanting to have intercourse of the same sex. It is simply rape when you want to do it to somebody else. And in this instance, it is not that these men of this tribe of Benjamin or the men in Sodom had a desire to do this simply because it's another man or some angel booty. It was because they didn't come and respect the leader and give them and pay them their homage and give them their respect. So I just wanted to utilize that one because when we talk about this book, we have to understand what the cultural, political mindset is of the writers and the people of that day. You see, the reason why this book disrespects women so much is because the cultures disrespected women. Women was looked upon as property, so they were treated as such. Remember in Leviticus when it talks about how in the seventh year, you don't have to let the woman go free, but you let the man go free. If the slave master gives the indentured servant a wife, and the man goes free, but the wife and the children remain slaves. And if he wanted to stay with them, then they put him up against a post and drive the awl through his ear, and now he's a slave for life. And this is what they did to their own people. So when you understand that that's the mentality of the people at that time, those are the customs of the people at that time, that's why. When people say, well, why didn't Jesus say anything about slavery or say slavery is wrong? Because he was in a culture where slavery was the norm. It was a normal thing in their culture. So, of course, he didn't say no man should own another man and women should be treated equally, because that would be outside of the culture. And if he said that one, he definitely would have got killed by everybody, not just, the Sanhedrin, not just the Romans. He would have been a disruption to the entire economic system, cultural system of the people. So he stayed within those cultural lines, those political lines. And that's why he never said anything about slavery or treating women equally, because he was a product, if he ever existed, but he would have been a product. He's written as a product of his environment, just slightly more enlightened. So I appreciate your comment, my guy, but think about the context of the culture at that time frame, and then you'll understand it a little bit differently. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.